the heart mind connection and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's important to be, to if you're getting into remote viewing, it's important to do targets that are safe, if you want to protect yourself from having a bad time.
Right.
And for the same reason, I wouldn't recommend anybody does these kind of woo targets like UFOs and stuff until they've had a lot of training, and gotten um, familiar with the process and the procedures and how it feels, and how it affects you after a session. Even if you're doing a mundane target, like, it can be, as I said earlier, kind of a mind-blowing thing to do this for the first couple of times. And even now it still blows my mind that I can get this stuff right. Like, it's always crazy to me.
Like
uh,
you almost amaze yourself at the ability.
yeah, yeah, at first that's the thing, like, it's just every single target is like, whoa. um
I can't believe I did that. Yeah. Do you
yeah,
think
yeah.
do you think that there's a chance that people like, say, Nostradamus and Tesla and Einstein and some of the other geniuses that, because they would say often that they were channeling.
Yep.
Um, do you think that they were doing something close to remote viewing?
I think they were doing the exact same thing, but without a remote viewing structure around it. Yeah, those
Right.
are the type of people I would call rock star intuitives. Um, Tesla and Einstein in particular, I have used that phrase before about them.
Because think about this. Why would Einstein wrote the letter to the president that initiated the sequencing of the bomb, right? The only reason that the bomb was created as fast and when it was because Einstein wrote that letter. Did
And
he see something terrible on? Because arguably, if Einstein never writes that letter, we don't go down a nuclear path.
yeah,
Not not then, at least.
yeah,
Someone probably would have cracked the code eventually. But Oppenheimer, all that, nothing like that happens. So, do you think this is a side effect of what happens when you do get involved and try to change the
yeah.
future?
That's an interesting question, because I mean, then you gotta wonder, like, was that was that horrible event something that needed to happen in history for us to get somewhere else? I don't know. It's that's the kind of stuff that's well beyond my ability to to say. And there's so much that goes into that. But I mean, I think Einstein was a fairly intuitive guy.
I mean,
Very
did
intuitive.
you've seen his
Communicated.
brain, right?
Seen his brain?
Have you seen his brain?
No.
When he died at the age of whatever, 80 something, his brain looked like a 20-year-old's.
Oh
It
wow.
made no, it made no sense.
Yeah. I think
It made
doing creative stuff is good for the brain. And
let me
any
pull it up.
intuition process like remote viewing is a creative process at its root, I think. And it's the same idea as taking care of your body. If you're exercising that, intuitive system regularly, it's going to stay strong. And Einstein certainly was doing that. He was a deep thinker. He was constantly, he went for a lot of walks. And you know I, to me, walking is a meditation. Like, I go for walks to get clarity, and commune with nature and all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, to say whether he knew he was going to create some horrible things, then I don't know. I know in hindsight he certainly struggled with it. Um,
I can't find it.
but
Damn it.
this is where things get weird, and you have to start talking about the idea of fate versus free will, right? Like, are some things fated to happen? I think maybe there are certain things that are fated to happen, and we get some leeway in how we get to them. But I think a lot of us maybe sign up for certain things that we know are going to happen in the future, maybe before we get here. And when they transpire, we participate in them in whatever way we're meant to. It's again, now we're getting into the far out woo territory a little bit, but it's interesting stuff to think about, for
Right.
sure.
And I just, it just makes me wonder, um, like the geniuses of the world, like, I mean, you could arguably say Elon Musk now. Elon Musk, I would say he's like the most modern day, kind of genius out there.
Sure.
But are these people able to tap, because they seem to have some sort of drive that just regular people don't? Like everyone, even Rogan asks Musk, like, how the fuck do you find time to run the Boring Company, SpaceX, Twitter, right? And still find time to, like, you know, just be a human,
Well,
right? Spend time
he
with kids.
works very hard, but he also outsources a ton of stuff. So I'm sure
Right.
that's part of it.
But uh you just gotta wonder if, like, some of these people are on another level, right? That they
Yeah.
are, that maybe, because the way I see it is we are the pinnacle of on Earth, right? We construct the world around us the way we see fit. There's nothing that is essentially attacking us and going to make us evolve physically. I think the next stages in evolution will all come in the mind and in the
Yep.
brain, right? Because
Yeah.
that's the only place that we're actually being challenged at this point.
Yeah.
So,
And I would suggest that developing intuition is probably the next stage of that sort of non-physical evolution. And it'll probably have physical effects too. The physical body is certainly very involved. Like I get feelings in my body for remote viewing sessions all the time. Like it's you feel the warmth or the cold or whatever. Like that session we did a couple weeks ago, where I ended up in the desert somewhere, and I was feeling like warmth and the
mhm,
grittiness of the sand and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
So like, and I try to exercise fairly regularly too, and I think that helps me to be better at the psychic stuff too. It's the vessel is the meat suit is uh, the computer hardware, I guess, for the consciousness software. That's kind
that's
of
a good way to
another way
put it.
to look at it too. But yeah, we've got this. You got this quantum meat suit that you can use to do whatever, to
Such a
do all this
weird word.
wacky psychic stuff. And if you, as long as you take care of it and you practice and you do your monk like stuff, you'll get better and better and better at it. But yeah, that's it.
Can
Like
I,
it's a practice. You gotta make a practice of it if you want to get better at it, just like anything else.
right, right, right. And I want to ask you, I know this is like a really weird question,
I
so
love weird questions.
I don't know how to phrase it necessarily, I guess.
Go for it.
Um, there is a date, 2027, right? Lots of people have thrown this date out there, including Elizondo himself,
Hmm.
saying that something, and I've talked to mediums um, in Salem when I was filming there for the movie
Yep.
about this date, um, and what I've gotten is a wave. Now the person couldn't tell me if this wave was literal or metaphorical, but a
Or metaphysics.
wave, or metaphysical. Yeah, it could be that too. That's something I didn't even think of. But a wave of information. Um, Lots of people suspect that 2027 is the disclosure date. And that's been something that's kind of a narrative that's been built around. Like I said, people like Elizondo back in 2022 said, I think we're going to have a very different conversation in 5 years.
Yeah.
2022 plus 5, 2027. John Ramirez, ex CIA, kept
Yeah.
referring to 2027. This medium in my session randomly brings up 2027.
Hmm.
So Do you have any information that can fill in some of these gaps?
I don't, not specifically, but I do kind of feel like we're barreling towards a very different world, and that we're, there's we're I think we're in revolutionary times right now, and have been for a while, and perhaps
Revolutionary in the sense of,
in in all kinds of senses. Like, just look at technology with AI. Look at just
yeah,
the political chaos all over the world, which I think is a symptom more so of just the suffering that people are undergoing under the current
undergoing. Yeah,
systems that we have. The systems don't seem to be serving the people the way they perhaps could or should, and
they're
people are
not the way they
suffering
were
because
meant
of that.
to.
And I mean, I think they were probably designed not to serve the people. They were designed to serve, the people at the top. And I think we are going to see a very different world. Certainly by 2030. I don't know if there's anything specific coming in 2027, but I've also heard a lot of stuff, probably the same stuff you have, or
Right.
similar, right? So I know we're living in a very interesting period of time. And I'm certainly going to keep following my own curiosity, and trying to, I think you can just, all you can really do is try to raise the vibes a bit in your own life, and pursue the things that bring you joy, and um, try to not judge people too much. I think that's kind of the big thing. I think the judgment is what's causing a lot of problems. Everybody's judging everybody else for the way they want to live, or whatever. And I mean, I've always been kind of like, live and let live. Don't, as long as you're not hurting anybody, do whatever you want.
Right.
Um,
Be whoever you want to be and be the best version
yeah,
of that person or that
yeah,
being, whatever. Um, so you mentioned something earlier that kind of I jotted it down to bring up at the end. Um, do you think that you chose to come down and live Josh Maitland's life?
quite likely. Yeah, I think there. I
Yeah.
mean, again, I've read some the Dolores Cannon books, where she does lots of regression hypnosis on people, and got some fairly consistent results from that suggest, there's kind of these in between life planning phases that people do. And you know I I wouldn't be surprised if, when this is all over, that becomes apparent. But I don't think we get to know that until after the simulation ends, or at least our current round of the simulation.
And that's the crazy part. I want to tell you a story. The other day, now I know how this fucking sounds, dude. Like, I know how it sounds. It sounds absolutely ridiculous, but like, so I was driving, right? I was driving.
I know what story you're going to tell.
Yeah, I was driving, and there was this old Toyota behind me. So right off the bat, it was not a self-driving car, because that's what people keep telling me. And I'm like, dude, this thing was a 1993 Toyota Camry. It is not self-driving. It pulled up next to me so it was behind me. And I noticed in my rear view mirror that, I mean, now it was twilight. So I was coming home from work,
Yep.
and I look in my rear view mirror and I don't see anyone in the passenger seat. Now I'm kind of short myself. Oh shit. I'm kind of short myself. So when I sit in the driver's seat, like, if you're behind me, you probably wouldn't see my head over the seat. Depending on whatever, your
Yeah.
vantage point. But this person went from behind me to next to me to in front of, this thing went from behind me to next to me, pulled up at the light. I looked, dude, there's no one in the fucking driver's seat. And listen, before anyone says anything, my phone was GPS.